back to the Living Wisely show. I'm Allegra Hall, and I'm here with Sarah Jakes. I want you to go on sarahjakes.com right now so you can hear more about her book, great book, Lost and Found. So Sarah, we've been talking about toxic relationships, and I'm reading from your book, page 112. And you say, I had given myself to the role of Robert's wife, even though I would cry many more tears before I ever became one. Sure, I told myself he was a little rough around the edges, but who isn't, even if those edges were sharp?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's about knowingly getting into a situation that you know is going to hurt you. And I mean, I think that as a parent, I know that, you never know what you're going to face when you love someone. That life could come in and there could be these issues, and as you grow with someone, that they could end up hurting you in some way, but love finds a way. But I think at the core, love is supposed to make you better. And I don't think that you can love someone and knowingly make them worse. But at the time, I had no concept of that. But I knew for sure that the relationship wasn't making me better, but I felt like there was potential there. And I think it's a dangerous thing to fall in love with potential, because you never know if that potential will ever be realized. And so I found myself falling in love and marrying who I hoped he would become, and not actually who he was. And to that credit, and I write in the book, I owe him apology for that, because when you say you love someone, you're supposed to love who they are in that moment, and not who you think that they will eventually become. But it's, all a learning lesson.
Your book made me laugh out loud. I loved your sister in the book.
She's hilarious in real life too.
Yeah, she was great, and I really want to meet your best friend,
Stacy.
Yeah. Okay, everybody needs a Stacy in their life. Oh my gosh, she is so wonderful. The other thing that hit me was, jumping back for 2 seconds, the love that your brother showed you.
Yeah, Jermaine.
And how you said you woke up, after you had told your family what was going on in your life, and you woke up and he was still there with his hand on your back, and it just touched me. You had such great people around you.
I did, and I think I took them for granted in a way that I thought that love was universally like that. I didn't realize, because that was all I had been surrounded by, that's not what people's definition of love is everywhere. And so it wasn't really until I was in my relationship with Robert that I realized that love isn't like that everywhere. It's not always as present. It's not always as beautiful and supportive and encouraging, and that sometimes people can say they love you and not show up. And that doesn't mean that their definition is wrong. It just means that it's different from yours. And so I took them for granted, but my marriage really taught me to show those types of relationships more respect, and to really value and cherish them more than I think I would have had I not gone through my situation.
I was laughing at one part of the book and also almost crying when your girlfriend told you, pick up your bag because you dropped your bag. Girl, you ready to take those earrings off and fight for your man?
I was.
I laughed because I said, I would have done the same thing. I had an experience, as many women have had, and don't want to tell the truth about.
Don't want to tell the truth about.
Girl, you know that old song, I bust the windows out your car?
Yes. Sometimes you just get sick of it.
Oh, I had walked past this car a couple times, and I thought, I'm going to, the police are going to
tires
kill me.
or something.
I wanted to do something. But what I also found interesting is that we get more angry with the woman.
Oh, yeah.
Why do we want to fight each other, rather than tell him a few words and hit the bricks?
Yeah, because we don't want it. At the end of the day, that fear of abandonment is still there. And so we think that we can beat the woman up enough to make her leave, and then that we'll deal with him later. But I write in the book often that I was torn between believing the other woman or believing him, and always sided with him. But the reality is that I really wasn't torn, that I could have chosen myself, and that I put myself in that mindset and then imprisoned myself in a relationship that wasn't good for me. And my strength really came when I realized that you don't have to be imprisoned in this. You don't have to settle. You can be more comfortable than you are. You just have to be willing to humble yourself and tell people that you were wrong, and to pay the consequences for whatever that may mean.
When you said those exact words, I was wrong, do you think that your friends and family went, indeed
they did. Indeed they did. I think that they were waiting for me to realize what they had seen all along.
Okay.
But they never forced me, because I think they wanted me to make the decision on my own, so that when I walked away, I didn't blame them for the hurt. I didn't blame them for the tears and the pain. But so they had to watch idly while I earned my scars. But to see them being used for a purpose now, I think gives them a lot of compassion.
It's so good. I can't say enough. This book is just so good. I was thinking about one part that I wanted to make sure we got to, which is forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, your situation, I once had a girl like confront me in the church. That's all I'm going to say. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm saved. But something came back to, I was thinking I'm taking my earrings off. And then I heard my mother's voice saying, you're always a lady.
Yeah.
You know, you're always a lady. And at that point, I threw my little scarf on and walked on out and said, you know, like you said, I'll deal with him later.
Yeah.
But we had to let him go. That was bad. You know? That was bad. But good came right after. In fact, great came right after that. I couldn't see great because I was too busy looking at this toxic thing, trying to save it.
Great does definitely come.
Oh yes, absolutely. But you say you felt like in some points you were trying to earn forgiveness.
Yeah, I did. I felt like, especially after my pregnancy, and then, you know, I dropped out of college. I made all of these detours in my life, ended up in a bad relationship, took my family through that entire process, and I felt like, man, if I could just make this up to them, then they could be proud of me. If I could just make this up to them, then I could be proud of myself. And the reality is that they had forgiven me, and they were just waiting on me to forgive myself. And because I projected those thoughts onto them, I made all of these different decisions thinking that I could earn their forgiveness, when the forgiveness was always there. I just never fully stepped into it. And so my challenge then became, especially as I made the decision to divorce, to realize that forgiveness is ever present, that grace is ever present, and that shame will be if I allow it. And that at the end of the day, I had to choose. I couldn't say that I was forgiven and still be ashamed. And if you truly are forgiven, if we truly do believe that Christ has forgiven us, that God has forgiven us for our past and our indiscretions, then we must walk and live in that forgiveness. And so I've made that my mission, to really live a forgiven life and to always be humble in everything I do.
And when you say that you're living a forgiving life, forgiving others, forgiving yourself.
Absolutely. Being more compassionate towards people, not judging them based on their circumstances. Just because yours was different than mine doesn't allow me the room to be judgmental. And because I realize that we do a really good job of convicting other people. But if we could be as forgiving, that maybe someone would take a chance on themselves. And so I know that there's a role in the body of Christ for everyone, and I certainly don't want to show any slight to any of those rules, but I do believe that my role is to show God's love, and I try to do that with people, whether they're lost or found. You know, depending on what area of your life you're in, I may be the only glimpse of God's love that you see. And if God brings a soul to me and I have this one opportunity to tell them about God, do I want to tell them about their shame and their conviction, or do I want to show them grace and forgiveness and hope that that is a seed that then blossoms into their life? And so I choose to show love.
And do you feel that people respond to you differently now? You know, you say in the book you just wanted to be known as simply Sarah.
Yeah.
And do you feel like people, you know, feel like they can touch you and talk to you and more connected?
I do. And I spent a very long time running from this T.D. Jakes' daughter thing, that I wanted to be my own person. And now that I'm 25, I realize like you can't separate yourself from being who your father is. And there is a mandate that comes with that, and a grace that comes with that, and that it is who you are, essentially. So you can't really separate yourself from that, but you can be authentically yourself still. You don't have to be who the world thinks that you should be. And so, yeah, people are very receptive to me. I have a lot of friends in my head from my social media, and quite a sisterhood that we have formed and bonded over the fact that we all have a past, but that we are unwilling to let our past define us.
Well, Sarah, in this last maybe 20 seconds, can you just look into this camera, and what would you say to someone who is saying, how do I connect to sarahjakes.com? Why do I need to read this book?
My prayer in writing Lost and Found is that someone will read the book and see a piece of themselves. And if you identify with any part of my story, any part of my insecurities, my shame, the guilt that I carry from my past, then you'll also identify with God's grace and the ability to overcome from the things that we thought would break us. And so as you connect with me, whether it's through the book or on my website or on my site, I invite you to grow with me, to be a part of my journey, to not just be a spectator, but to actually join in and do the work so that we can heal and be used to create a nation of people who believe that His strength is made perfect in our weakness.
Well said. Sarah, thanks for being a
My
great
pleasure.
guest.
Thank you.